Hi.
Hi.
How you doing? Sorry, man. I had you waiting today. My bad. Welcome to the Dad Tribe podcast. My name is JC, marketer, dad, father, husband, to say a few.
You said dad this time. I'm proud of you. You did it.
Did I?
You did good. And I'm Coach John, fitness expert, coach, entrepreneur, dad. Excited to be here to talk today about something that I'm actually not super well versed in.
Well, you're versed in the health part.
I'm in the health part, but the TRT stuff, I'm not. You have firsthand experience. I have zero. So I'm very excited to get into this a little bit because I don't think you and I have talked too much at length about this particular topic. But yeah, so today's going to be talking about the importance of physical health in men's lives specifically, but a lot of it will be broad strokes that will cover pretty much anybody who is trying to be better physically.
Yeah. And I think super important, we're not coming at it as experts on the TRT side specifically. No. We will have eventually some experts on to talk about TRT, to talk about men's health, specifically when it comes to reproductive and testosterone production, et cetera, et cetera. But we are definitely not the experts in TRT. I can give you for sure my firsthand opinion and my what I experienced.
Yeah, I don't want to downplay the value of this, but it is going to be very anecdotal because it's going to be your story, your experience with it, and the pros and cons that you've experienced through going through it. But I think we should start maybe a little bit more general than that before we get into the TRT stuff about just general physical preparedness, or what we'll call GPP for the rest of the hour, to shorten it. But what do you think of when you hear GPP? When you think of general physical preparedness, what kind of things come to mind for you?
Consistency, making sure that I'm assuming general preparedness, meaning your day to day. What are you doing?
Yeah. Here? So okay. So let me ask it a different way. Let me ask it a different way. When I say,
you can't give me an acronym and then not fucking explain it.
Well, it's general physical preparedness. So when you need to be generally physically prepared for your life, what kind of things do you think you need to be capable of doing? What do you need to be able to do with your body? Do you need to be able to lift a certain amount of weight? Do you need to be able to run a certain distance? Do you need to be able to get in and out of certain apparatus, toilets, cars, whatever? Like, what would equate to being generally physically prepared in today's day and age to you?
You know what's weird is, and I do this with shoes as well. I promise you, I'll make the connection. I do this with shoes as well, and it's kind of it's the world we live in today's day and age. But I always say that I want to be able to like grab Braden and run from an event. Like if something were to happen.
Yeah.
Like sprint and be able to go, fucking a mile. I can't go a mile right now with Braden on my back, but do you know what I mean? Like
a mile,
like sprint out of an event or whatever the case may, or a fucking not know what, a movie theater, whatever the case may be. If something were to happen, and be able to physically be able to do that, and or be able to protect him and Madi in a situation. I know that's a crazy thought, but I think about that all the time. I actually think about that a lot. When somebody had told me that one time, it's like, don't wear sandals if you're not going to the beach. I'm like, why the fuck do you not wear sandals if you don't go to the beach? Like, what if something's happened? Something happens, and you need to sprint out of that area.
So it's so funny you say that
crazy?
Because I think of a stand-up comedian who had a joke about that. It was like, oh, he's wearing flip-flops. He doesn't plan to be chased today. Like, that's so funny to me that you say that, because I think the same thing. Like, yeah, flip-flops are the most common shoe style you see here in Florida. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, you ain't running in those, man. Not fast, at least. Not very well.
I usually never wear I used to wear flip-flops everywhere.
General physical preparedness in an academic sense is to be able to do what we call your ADLs, or your activities of daily living, without pain, without restriction, without assistance, right? So you're getting up off the couch, you're getting up off the floor, you're getting up out of bed, you're climbing stairs, you're getting in and out of your car, you're reaching for things overhead, you're picking things up off the floor. It's very, very, what I would call low barrier to entry is to living a fulfilled and complete life. But there are people out there who can't do these things, and that's where GPP originated. And then it's kind of gotten blown into this GPP is you need to be able to run, jump, sprint, hang from a bar, the kind of CrossFit stuff. And there's a realm in which that's very true. But it started as ADLs. It started as activities of daily living, and it's supposed to be utilized for, in my opinion, the more the elderly community to gauge whether or not they can be self-sufficient. Do they need assisted living? Do they need someone in-house? Do they need a family member to check on them regularly? Or are they like still capable kind of stuff?
Yeah, so when you were reeling that off, I was like, yeah, I'm not that old to be worrying about. But I get what you're saying, and I do have.
But that's why I want to point out that GPP doesn't have to mean the academic sense. It doesn't have to mean one thing. Just like a lot of the things we talk about here, it's going to be relative to what you want it to mean or what I want it to mean for me. Yep. So GPP to you is being able to pick up Braden and run a mile.
Not happening right now, by the way.
But it could also mean like you want to be able to jump on a box or something waist height at any given time. You want to be able to sprint at any given moment without worried about pulling a muscle or twisting an ankle or something. You want to be able to stand up off the toilet every time without having to think about it. Like there are things in your life that you may take for granted right now, but you want to be able to do those things. And if you couldn't, you would say, oh, I'm not generally physically prepared for the life I want to live.
So it is a really good question, and thank you for expressing it the way that you did, because yes, now I understand exactly what you're trying to say. The best way I can explain it is I want to make sure that my day-to-day chores, and I don't mean chores like, washing the dishes or anything like that. Like, I'm not talking about being able to breathe through my dishwashing. But no, maybe for elderly, like you said, that's your goal.
I'm just imagining you over there with like a breathe right strip, scrubbing something with a scrub daddy so hard. Just, oh my gosh, can we make that real? That's so good.
No, not that.
That's so good.
But when I say day-to-day chores, like, if we had to do things outside, you're going to write note.
I'm sorry, I'm making a note that I'm going to make that real of what GPP actually is, and it's not doing the dishes with a breathe right strip.
That's so funny.
Oh my gosh.
Look at this guy writing notes.
Go ahead. I'm still listening.
No. So I think the best way I can explain it is, like if I were to, for instance, every once in a while I go to my dad's house because he's living here, but he's not living here. They're still in Miami, and I go mow the lawn. He has a pretty big lawn. I don't want mowing the lawn to be my workout for the day. Does that make sense? Like I want it to be just a thing that I do that doesn't take me off of what I'm doing that day. Very similarly to when I was very overweight, when we would go to Disney. And there's a lot of walking in Disney, and you're picking up your child, you're picking up your kid, et cetera, and Disney can be tiring. I don't want to get back to the hotel that night and not be able to go to dinner or not be able to just do things and be normal and walk around, because I walked around that day and that was my workout. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want that. I want to be able to walk all that we did, pick up B, et cetera, and get back to the hotel and still say, hey, let's go to dinner. Let's do this. Let's do that. Like let's go. And more importantly, we talked about this at the end of last year. I want to be able to work out and have my rigorous training sessions, schedules, et cetera, and that not take me off of my routine on a daily basis, work-wise. Like be able to load up more things on a day-to-day basis and also be able to go work out and that not veer me off. Okay, and I think for me personally, that's my assessment of that question.
Yeah, and there are people out there who are like, Disney is their workout.
Yeah, and when you see them at Disney.
And a lot of times it's, to me, I was going to say it's sad. Sad is not the right word. It's frustrating to me because those people don't necessarily go to Disney 5 times a week and get their steps in. They're going once every 6 months, and they're like, yeah, I go to Disney, I work out, right? That's my workout for the day. It's like, well, it shouldn't be.
No, it shouldn't be.
That walking should be strenuous compared to your daily activity, but it shouldn't be something that knocks you out like you're talking about for the day. So you end up ordering room service or something instead of going out and spending more time with your family.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, you get tired of shit, and maybe it's your 3rd night in Disney, and you're like, I'm ordering room service. Don't get me wrong. There is time and place for that, but I think you understand the gist of it. Is like I don't want that to knock me off completely off my day. And very personal to me, that question, now that you say it, and now that I'm like diving into it, I used to argue with my grandmothers about this that have passed away, and for whatever reason in our Hispanic culture, especially that generation, when you would turn 40 as a woman, like even the men, but more specifically the women, like you were 80 years old, like turning 40. Like it was a very old mindset that like you were done, you were old, yeah, like you know, you're physically you couldn't do anything anymore. Like it was a weird mindset,
yeah.
And it's still, you know, the newer generations are kind of kicking that, but for whatever reason, like, and maybe it was specifically Cuban, that was the culture that we grew up in, but my grandparents, like, they aged very quickly. My grandmothers aged very quickly, and I would always fight with both of them. Specifically on that, they would say, I would ask them if I would, you know, call them and talk to them, whatever. What did you do today? Oh, I know, I cleaned the house. I was like, no, like, what'd you do today? And mind you, I'm not talking to my 80-year-old grandmother. I'm talking to my 60-something-year-old grandmother, early 70s. Like, no, like, you know, cleaning the house shouldn't be your main thing. Like, what did you do today? And, you know, where did you go? Did you work out? Did you walk, you know, outside?
Did you see a friend?
Did you see a friend? And it was always, and that's very personal to me, because I would always argue with them. It was like, no, you have to have a higher standard than that. Because for real, like you it's your responsibility to have a higher standard. You have a functioning body, you know. So I've always felt that way. And the Disney barometer is funny, because we both go to Disney and we both understand what we're talking about. But it really is. And you see it in Disney too. You see, like, we talked about it, where you see like some fathers that are walking around with their overweight kid, or usually a son, and they're also overweight and they're hunching over, and it's like, man, be a better example, you know? And we talk about that all the time. It's like, it's your responsibility to be a better example to them.
And I know that you know this, but looking at those people, you only get that snapshot of them. You don't know what's going on in their life.
100%.
But at the same time, there's a part of you that you're checking. You're going, man, I'm really glad that I've been blessed in my life to be able to be where I'm at physically and for my family, and mentally, of course, and for my family, so that I'm not struggling that way. So my GPP is very much still based in my athletics. I still want to be able to run, jump, sprint, all those things that I mentioned about how more CrossFit or functional fitness has started to define GPP. But since becoming a dad, it has changed. I want to be able to pick her up and carry her for an hour, right, without stopping. Like you saw my story. I mean, by the time this comes out, it was like a month ago. But you saw my story yesterday. I'm doing bicep curls. I made the joke, like, these arms got to carry Peyton through Disney for 3 days. Like, that's part of my GPP plan now, is like, I want her to want to be carried and know that, like, she's good up there for a while. She's good. She's not going to wear me out. It's not going to affect me. It's not going to hurt me. And so, like, that has become built into also being able to perform at a specific level of metabolic conditioning, right? So, like, doing the Metcons in classes or going for a run or whatever, I still want to be able to do those things also, but those things are secondary now to providing for Peyton, providing the experience of a strong father figure, and strong in multiple facets, but strong physically.
You are strong.
Thanks, man.
You're very strong.
Appreciate
I see you
it.
in the gym all the time.
You do see me in the gym all the time. I kind of work there, so I feel like it.
Well, you work out there too.
I have to work out there.
I agree with you. It's funny because we have the same kind of barometers, but opposite. So I started getting into this with, I want to pick up B, I want to be able to go to Disney, whatever. And now I'm getting to the point where it's like, now I want the physical stuff. Like, now I want to hang for 30 seconds. And be good. Now I want to do the carries. You know what I mean? Like, now I want to do this, be able to sprint, which I can. I sprint fine.
Right.
But yeah, I'm getting into the more like,
I sprint fine.
I sprint fine.
No one's accusing you.
I'm okay.
You're okay.
I'm okay. But the functional fitness part of things is now where I'm getting at, because I felt like, my entry was doing stuff with the B, and then now I really do want to get into more, functional fitness and get those levels higher, if you will, as I lose the weight and as I get more fit.
So now that we've established some GPP, I'm going to ask you, because you've done different types of training. You did baseball growing up. You've played a bunch of different sports.
I didn't do baseball. I played baseball.
You were baseball. I am baseball. No, You played baseball. It was a big part of your life. You've done the strength training. You've done the classic training for your sport. You've done the classic 3 sets of 10, and now you're doing this more group fitness, CrossFit style-esque, strength biased programming. Do you think that had you known about, the results you would get from each one, you would have gone in a different order? Or do you think that this is kind of the natural progression for your life that fits you, going sport, strength training, then CrossFit? We'll just use the word CrossFit because we can. But yeah.
Actually, that's a good question, because I always say so. Again, going back to the culture, growing up, and I think it was the era too. You either played, and we've talked about this. You either played baseball, football, or basketball. There was not a lot of cross sport contamination, if you will. Like there was not a lot of, especially when you got into high school. There was that, but especially if you played baseball, it was a very old school mindset of like, you cannot play football and basketball because they coincide with each other, and you need to specifically play baseball. So, with that said, because I excelled at baseball very quickly, I was a one sport athlete. Although I was a very good athlete, and we'd play basketball with the basketball players, and I can always hang, but not hang from the rim. By the way, that I'm not that type of white guy.
You are the one they wrote the movie about.
Yeah,
Can't jump.
Can't jump. I'm the can't jump. So I was always a one sport athlete. So to answer your question, I think I would have really appreciated more different sport into my upbringing and into kind of how I grew as an athlete. I would have loved to play football. I would have loved to play basketball. More football, really. But I would have loved the introduction of functional fitness at an earlier age. I think that would have helped me out as a baseball player. And again, as baseball, you were and it was very old school. Like baseball, you couldn't bench press. For a long time. Like I remember in high school, it was frowned upon to bench press in high school as a baseball player because your shoulders or whatever. And I maintain that I probably had shoulder injuries because I didn't do shoulders. I didn't do bench press. I was only doing the little fucking cable all the time. You know what I mean? Like the rotator exercises. And it's like, no, man, like I needed to develop my chest, my back. Like those were the muscles that protect your shoulder. Partly, but there's more, but
right.
So early on in CrossFit, there was that stigma as well. Like you can't, you shouldn't do bench press. Why?
The argument that it wasn't functional.
Yeah, and it is. Like you're pushing shit. Like so anyway. So I would have loved the introduction of a more CrossFit-y functional fitness into my workout routine earlier on. I think it would have made myself a better athlete. Although I had a very good trainer in my early teens. He was phenomenal. He was a bodybuilder, but he was a very good trainer. He helped me build my base, if you will, legs. He was very big into legs, very big into core, and he helped me build my base as a early teen. But yeah, I think especially getting into college, I would have loved to have been introduced to a more functional fitness CrossFit style, and in baseball. You kind of did that, but you did that very separate, right? So it was when you were in the gym, you were lifting, and then when you were outside, you were doing your calisthenics or your
sport specific
stuff, and it wasn't combined. And I would have, I love CrossFit, I love functional fitness, and I think for my body, I was a catcher, like it would have been great for me to be able to do the things that I'm doing now, and take that into my sport. So I think I answered your question.
I'm a firm believer in the not necessarily the separation, but the focus on strength when you're not practicing your sport, especially for teen athletes. I've had the opportunity to work with a few of them, and the one common thread through all of them is they lack general strength. They lack like the strength you would see like in the gym. Like they can't lift a ton of weight. They can't move a bunch of external load. They can't squat super great. They may be really good at their sport. They may be really bad at their sport. I don't know. I don't help them with their sport. That's not what I was hired to do for them. And the moment that they start to get stronger, and I'm a huge proponent of building somebody who is durable, not just strong, right? So I can make you stronger, but I'm also going to make you more durable, more resistant to injury, learning how to control your body in those functional patterns for your sport. They come to me like, I don't know, 3 weeks in, they're like, my throw feels better. Like I feel more in control of it. And it's like, we haven't done throwing mechanics. I'm not out there like, no, now your elbow needs to come forward before your wrist comes forward. I'm not doing any of that. That's for your sport coach to do. That's for your baseball coach to do. I'm out here going to make your shoulders super stable, your lats crazy strong, and I'm going to make sure that your mobility stays the same or gets better. That's only going to make you better at your sport. So I think there's a big shift going on in fitness about that in teen athletes going into strength training. And I know that people have been talking for a long time about like kids 12, 13, 14 need to get in the gym and start squatting.
100%.
Like they 100% need to put a barbell on their back, squat down, stand up with good form, under supervision, not trying to go fast, not trying to do maximal loads, but they just need to work on gaining the strength and the range of motion that we lose from sitting in chairs, sitting in front of TVs, only walking to and from class in cars. Like there's not enough out there. And
you need to put a load on.
And then if you play a sport that doesn't make you get below parallel, you start losing that range of motion in your hips, which is vital. And it's just
and the science is clear, by the way.
The science is absolutely clear.
And we'll probably we'll put it in the show notes. Well, he'll put it in the show notes. But the science is insanely clear on it is not stunting your growth.
No. And the only way it could stunt your growth is if you break something. Like
Correct.
At the end of your bones, there's things called epiphyseal plates, and that's where your bones grow, and that's how you get taller and all that stuff, right? If you break an epiphyseal plate, even now they can give you stem cells and things to help it repair and hopefully rejuvenate. But like you're not doing that from weight training. You're not doing that from jumping up on a box. You're not doing that from running. None of that. Provided you're not being a freaking dumbass about it and like
or your trainer's being a dumbass
and just
about
slamming stuff on
Correct.
you. Like as long as you are progressing and working within the capability that you currently have within your capacity, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And you'll get better.
Yeah.
And those kids at those ages, they're coursing with hormones and like growth hormones and testosterone and all the stuff. They're gonna adapt so much
and the
faster.
recovery is so fast.
And they're gonna adapt so much faster than you or I would if we followed the same program.
Yeah.
If we took 50% of our 1 rep max back squat and did it for 5 sets of 10, it would take us forever to feel stronger, better, and we'd take 3 days to recover. They could do that 4 times a week and not even feel like they're doing anything, and they're gonna be able to squat twice as much of that in 3 months.
Yeah.
Right? So it's crazy.
And that's a great segue. You're so good at this. Not even knowing you're so good at this. Because you said a word that I want to segue into specifically testosterone and recovery. And that's part of what we wanted to talk about on the show today. And in true fashion, we kind of segue into different aspects of conversation. But
before you move on too far,
Yeah.
I want to put a bow on that. If you have a teen athlete and they're not doing strength training, you need to get them into doing strength training
100%.
outside of their sport. It could be general strength training. You could find somebody who's just a personal trainer and vet them, talk to them. But the point of that whole rant and asking you those questions was to get to this. If they're not doing strength training, you're essentially leaving money on the table.
100%.
You are not capitalizing on their skill. You're not capitalizing on their opportunity. You're not capitalizing on their age. And you need to get them into doing that on top of their sport. If they're playing their sport 5 days a week and you don't see massive growth in their skill set, pull them out of a couple practices, take them off of one of the travel teams, and get them in with a trainer and get them to start getting strong and moving better.
I cannot agree with that more.
But I'm sorry,
Build
testosterone.
The base. No. And again, to put another bow on it, 100%. Build the base, especially at a young age. It doesn't matter what sport you play. A better body, a better built body, a better foundation is going to be able to transfer into any sport that you play.
A better
100%.
built body will make a better athlete in the long run.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So I'm in true fashion, we're very aligned on that topic. Let's segue into those two topics or those two kind of keywords that you had discussed, which was the TRT and the recovery, because I think that's a topic I really want to discuss because it was a big deal for me the last couple years as I started my journey back into being more physically fit and healthier and post my downfall, if you will, with my last company and everything that we've discussed in the podcast, and my quote unquote resurgence as a person, as a man, as a father, as a husband. it's been this is a huge topic for me because as I started to get back into the swing of things, and as we moved over here, we found Evolve very quickly, and that was part of the biggest and the best things that have happened to us in the last 3 years was finding Evolve and being around you guys, and not so much you, but being around
Daniel.
No, just kidding. Being around you guys and being able to find that community and what you guys believe in, the foundation you've put together, and so important. But as I started to dive into that world and get back into the swing of things, and when I started Evolve, I was at 320 pounds, something like that. Crazy to think. And
wow.
I dropped really quickly to like 270, 275, which is pretty much where I've lived the last couple of years. And that was a big sign for me that I was able to lose that weight quickly, but I kind of stalled out at the 270. Mind you, I had been gaining muscle, some, not a lot, but I did lose that weight to begin with. Now, a backstory on me, and I think we've discussed this, is I have been a serial dieter my entire life, and I've been a serial weight gainer, lose the weight my entire life. I have historically completely eaten out of anxiety. That's been kind of my scapegoat into dealing with my emotions in the past, and it's something that I've gone over and something that I've gone through. Is the camera good?
Yeah. The camera's good.
Just making sure.
Yeah, no, I'm just checking. I like checking our time every once in a while.
Something that I've gone over and I've gone through, and I've been able to deal with my stresses, my emotions, everything that I deal with on a day-to-day basis way better, and I haven't dove into food the way I have in the past. But I've gained weight, I've lost weight, gained weight, I've lost weight. So I lost the weight this time around, and it was a very healthy way. We were going to the gym consistently, eating consistently, working with Katie, working with you in the gym and form and all that. And I got to 270 and I plateaued at 270. And I think for the most part, I mean, obviously you see me, I go to the gym 3 to 5 times a week, every week. Like we're very consistent in the gym. And I'm not saying I'm a fucking beast in the gym and I go all out every single time, but I hit it hard, and there's days that I hit it harder than others, but for the most part, I've been very consistent, and I really did plateau from about a year and a half ago at that 270, 275 mark. Again, eating way better, not drinking as much, etc. And I remember telling Madi, I was like, man, there's something wrong. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know how to explain it. But there is something wrong. Mind you, like, and I think, again, you've dealt with me enough. I have a pretty decent base of knowledge when it comes to nutrition and working out and physical fitness, etc. And to sit there with Madi and her be like, well, what's wrong? I'm like, I have no fucking clue. I don't know how to explain it. There's something wrong.
Yeah.
And the weirdest part of all of this, to get really deep, is it never really showcased in my sexual function. Like a lot of guys, they'll get to their they'll understand that they have a T problem because they're like, oh man, I can't get it up, or I can't keep it up, or whatever the case may be. That was never an issue for me, and that's full transparency. Like really never an issue for me. On the contrary, I've always had a very strong libido, which is crazy that I actually had an issue, because now my libido is insanely high.
Sorry, Maddie.
Full transparency. Yeah, sorry, babe. And we joke about it all the time. Obviously, she's like, "Jeez, man, like, it's." And I'm like, I'm sorry.
She's like, "Jeez, man."
Yeah, like, you want to get off of this stuff?
Oh my god.
But
so okay. So if that wasn't the signal,
right,
and you just felt off, can you put it into words now? What it was? Was it an energy thing?
Yeah,
was it a focus thing? What was it?
Right. So in conversations with her and really starting to research and started to dive into it, and it was like, man, I'm not recovering the same. Right. So again, at this point, I'm 35 years old. I know I'm not 20 years old. I get it.
Right.
But I'm also only 35.
Right.
I shouldn't be not recovering at a pretty decent rate.
Right.
Right. If I were 55, 65, I'd be like,
well,
okay, I get
it. But if it were the same when you're going to the gym 5 days a week as 3 days a week, you're feeling just as run down. Like that would be a clue, right?
And that was the clue.
Right.
That was like the, oh shit, like there's something not right.
I'm going to the gym almost half as much, and I'm feeling just as run down, if not more than I was when I was going 4 or 5 days a week.
And mind you, I was a guy in my 20s that if I were somebody in my 20s that that just didn't have that stamina and didn't have that recovery, I would tell you, that's just how I'm built. But, dude, I was a fucker that I can go 5 days a week, twice a day,
right,
and be okay, like be totally okay. My energy be okay, like my strength. I've always been a strong dude, like be 100% okay. Here I am at 35 years old, and I'm going 3 times a week to the gym, and I'm feeling like I went 7 days.
Right.
And if I went 5 days, I'm like, I can't walk on Sunday. And I'm like, dude, I'm not playing football on Sundays. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I get it if you played a NFL football game on Sunday and you go on Monday and you can't walk.
Right.
That's par for the course. That's, that's a sport.
Yeah.
But we're working out here. We're doing functional fitness. We're not fucking playing a football game on Sunday.
And like you said, you're not going balls to the wall every time
day.
you're in there either.
Absolutely.
There's days where you're dialing it back too.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. Like there's days that I'll see you at the gym, like, dog, going through the motions today. Like literally.
Well, and there's something to be said about that. Not to go on a tangent, but there's days where you should just check the box.
Yes. Yeah. It's just a mental day.
Yeah, you check the box that you went there. You did the damn thing.
You did the thing. Yeah.
You pat yourself on the back and you go, get them tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you did more than you would have done sitting at home.
100%. Yeah.
All right. So you realize you have more fatigue. Your libido's cool.
Yeah, it was really more of a fatigue, a recovery, and then a weight loss thing. Like I was like, man, again, I've always had, when I'm in the swing of things and I am working out and I'm getting after it, I've always had a good metabolism.
Okay.
Not great, but a good metabolism. Yeah. I can burn off some fat. I can get leaner. Like, and it was an issue for me. Like I was stuck, man. I was like in a rut, and there was nothing. I was doing the summer shreds with Katie. I at a point last year, I remember, like, I was going 5 days a week. Like I was like, fuck it. If I can't walk on Sunday, fuck it. But I'm going 5 days a week because I am gonna lose the weight.
Got it.
Not last year, the year before.
Right.
And I wasn't. And I was very frustrated. And again, I turned to Monty. I was like, there is something here. I need to do my research. I need to figure this shit out. So I started to do my research, and I'm like, man, I may have a testosterone issue. Like, I may be low in T. Like, at 35 years old, that's not a conversation I ever thought that I would have with myself, especially me, again, with the signs that I was like, I don't have a T issue. Like, there was no signs pointing to a T issue unless you really dive into it and you do your research. And like, shit, energy is part of it. It's the recovery. It's the bounce back. It's the strength. It's all these things that could be a sign. It's not just the sexual part of it,
right?
Which is part of why I wanted to talk about it, because that's the stigma, right? It's
and I think that I think just like any other piece of news, you hear the most extreme version of it, and a man not wanting to have sex is like an extreme thing in today's day and age, and so that's the one thing you hear. But you're right; it's absolutely tied to more than that. It's tied to your digestion. It's tied to your hunger. It's tied to your energy. It's tied to your recovery. It's tied to how well you sleep. It's huge. Thing, It's huge. So go on, keep going. What'd you learn?
Yeah. So I spoke to Mari, had multiple conversations with her, did my research, a lot of research, really. And ironically enough, I had a buddy of mine that had gone on TRT, and he was speaking wonders of it. Now, I will give you the backstory of TRT, as I have learned, has, like many things in the industry and in our world today, has been hoarded out completely.
So before we get too far, what does TRT stand for those?
Testosterone Replacement Therapy.
Testosterone Replacement Therapy.
So essentially, you're exogenously replacing your testosterone with outside. That's exogenous. With outside testosterone that your body is not producing naturally.
Cool.
Because your body can't produce it naturally.
Just want to make sure everyone's on the same page with
No.
TRT. We got all these acronyms: GPP, ADLs, TRT, LOL,
BRB,
OMG,
LOL,
AFK. Sorry, I went nerdy on you.
We're the acronym generation.
All right, this is no longer Dad Tribe. This is now the acronym podcast. Here we go. All right, so you talked to your buddy about TRT.
Yeah. So we had talked. He actually got back into lifting because of me, and he was like, "Man, I see your gains, and it's very inspiring. Whatever." He got back into it, and he had gone on TRT because he said he felt something. Whatever. Again, to kind of give you a backstory, there is a quote unquote black market, or a nasty part of the TRT market at the moment, which is like these T clinics is what they call them. And yeah, they're not doctors. There are physicians or whatever, sometimes not even physicians, and they're prescribing TRT to people that don't need TRT, which is really ugly, and there's a lot of issues with that can come up. Obviously, if your body is naturally producing testosterone and at a good rate, there should be no reason why you're exogenously taking in testosterone. It is going to stunt your testosterone production.
Right.
Right. Which is, and I'll talk about kind of this whole
which
deal.
is one of the fears of people going on TRT in the first place.
Correct.
Right. Is that one, that they don't know that they truly need it. And then if they do, does that stunt what they're already doing? But that's the purpose of people who are not producing enough, is to supplement and get them to a safe level so that all these other factors in their life are even keel.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So he gets on TRT and we communicate, and he's like, bro, like night and day. Like, you need to get on this. I feel 15 again, et cetera, et cetera. And again, that is the sexy part of anybody getting on TRT. I don't blame any man wanting to get on.
I don't mean to chuckle at you, but when he says I feel 15 again, I'm like, when you say that, my thing is like, oh, so totally insecure, like a little child. Like, great, that's exactly how I want to feel. So
I think he meant on the wind blows and my penis is.
I understand.
Okay.
Like, but my initial, like,
yes.
you know how we talked about that processing moment. Like, that processing moment to me immediately went to, oh, so totally insecure and no girl will ever want me. Thanks.
That's what I want.
Yeah, sign me up. How much money is it cost? So anyway, so he feels great.
Yeah, so he feels great, whatever. And but I have my reservations, because it is, if you don't go through the medical route, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, it's very expensive, insanely expensive. Like, you go to a TRT clinic and you don't go the insurance medical route because you don't need it. You're talking about a couple grand a month on TRT. That's fucking expensive. For most families in this economy, that is not doable. So, and again, if you don't need it, you don't need it. And I think that's the awareness that needs to be brought up with this. And again, we'll have experts on to talk about this. I actually want to have my doc, the one that I've gone to. I would love to have him on. I've already had conversations with him. I'd love to have him on.
Let's do it.
He'd be an amazing source for this, of actual information and study that he's gone through. So anyways, so I have the conversation with him, and then ironically enough, like a couple weeks later, I am at the barbershop, okay, getting my hair cut with my barber, JC Barbershop. Shout out. Love him. Great place. And he is talking about this clinic that he goes to, and it's not a clinic, it's actually a doc. It's his doc, yeah. And he talks about it very openly, so that's, I'm cool talking about it. And yeah, he's telling me, like, I go through this, went through an insurance route, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, what do you mean insurance route? And he's like, yeah, like, if you actually fucking need it, like, the insurance will pay for it. I'm like, wait, really? So mind you, this is like already very deep into my research. I'm like, I for sure think I need this. So talk to him. So I go, you know what? Let me go my my regular doc route. Like, let me just go get a checkup. Let me talk to my doctor and see if he or she recommends this route of going to a specialist, which you have to go to a urologist. So the specialist would be a urologist, which would be a urologist that dedicates themselves to men's sexual health.
Got it.
Or reproductive health. So it's a very specific realm of health.
Okay.
So I went to my regular doctor, and I told her, look, I think this is the case. She goes, okay, why do you think this? And I tell her everything. She's like, yeah, but you don't have, and this is part of my frustration. She goes, yeah, but you're not saying you have any sexual health issues, or like issues, with your sex,
right,
your libido, etc. I guess I can do some tests, but it doesn't look like you have anything. I'm
right.
Like,
but that's from the eye test.
Right.
Right.
It's like,
so
no, do some blood work.
That
right?
immediately makes me think of like guys who you used to think were on steroids because you looked at them and they were massive, right?
Correct.
So she's trying to pass you through the eye test, and you're like, hey, I came here to do this test.
Right.
So advice would be like, hey, have the test. If you feel this way, get the test done.
Yeah. Talk to your doctor and tell them, look, this is what I feel, okay? And again, if this is what you feel, right? Don't fucking, this is what I feel.
Don't take your story and then just copy it to someone who gets some testosterone.
This is a podcast I saw. I feel what he feels.
All right.
So yes, I sat with her and I told her, look, these are the symptoms. I've done my research. Mind you, again, I come with a little bit more knowledge than the normal person, because I've lived this, I've done this, like I've been a trainer, like I've been in sports all my life. I get more than some, not most, but more than some. So I had a little bit of background knowledge in this, and I tell her, look, I don't feel normal. Like, it's the best way I can explain it to you. I don't feel normal. I know I'm 35, but I'm not fucking 65. I don't feel normal. She goes, all right, we'll run some blood work on you. We'll run some specific men's health, the testosterone, etc. blood work on you. So I get my blood work back. This is a month later, 2 months later, and I sit with her. And I had done my research already. I knew what ranges I needed to be in. Okay. I don't know the specific, and we'll put it on the show notes. I don't know the specific measurement scientifically that it is, but I know that the range is from 300 to like 1500. Okay. 300 being at the very low end.
Got it.
Okay. And again, we'll put it at the show notes. I don't know the exact measurement. I was at like 265.
Oh, wow.
Mind you, the 300 is the book measurement. If you really like actually look at the podcast, gentlemen like Peter Attia, which is doing a great job in explaining what your levels need to be, that is not good. Like even 300, they would argue it needs that barometer needs to be like at 400, 500 for a healthy, 35-year-old man.
A balanced.
That's doing all the right things.
Right.
For the most part. Okay. So I come in and I'm like at 285, 280 something. And I tell my doc, I'm like, look, respectfully, like, I disagree. Like, we didn't have a long conversation about it. I was like, I don't feel good. I think these numbers are low. She's telling me 300, or you're around
right
300.
Around.
You're fine. The fuck I am. I'm telling you, I have all the symptoms. The numbers show that I'm not fine. Like that's not like I'm not fine.
Right.
So again, I had already had this conversation with. Thank God, I had already had this conversation with my barber, and. Whatever.
I'm just thinking like somebody
get TRT because my barber said.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about somebody who has a barber who's like old timey guy with the spiral thing out front, and you're like I've been thinking about getting TRT, and his name's like Ed, and you're like he's like, well, back in my day you just and he like tells you some I don't know, crazy thing. Yeah, it's cockamamie thing about like, we used to just squeeze a whole chicken into our face, and so I don't know, but
I get what you're saying.
Because my barber said so. So you argue with your doctor, you fight for your stance. How does that come out?
I didn't dig my heels. I'm not gonna argue with her on that. I get what she's doing. She has 1,000 patients that week. Like hey, your numbers are by the book, close.
My favorite phrase: they're good enough.
Right. Ugh. But at that moment of my life, good enough wasn't good enough. Like it never is really. No. But even more so at that moment, like I'm doing all the things the right way. I'm back to like hitting the gym hard. I'm feeling relatively good when it comes to like my routine and my eating, etc. But I'm not feeling good. There's something wrong. And if a patient comes to you with that information, fuck, man. And the numbers say that, hey, you're lower than where you should be. Right. As a 35-year-old, I have issues with that. Not saying that it's negligence. She has 1,000 patients that week. I get it. But that's part of, we can go down a rabbit hole. That's part of what is the problem with our medical system.
Part of.
Yeah, part of. Okay. So I take matters into my own hands, and I call this doctor, Dr. Balin.
The barber's doctor?
The barber's doctor.
The barber's doctor. Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm following the story.
To be very clear.
Yeah.
The urologist.
Got it.
And I call him. Luckily, thank God, Madi works for a healthcare system, a hospital system, local, Baycare. We have great insurance, and everything was covered, etc.
Yes.
So I had my first consultation with him, and I sat in front of him. Mind you, I'm at 270, but I am a strong dude. Like, you can tell that I work out. I'm not you can tell that I don't sit in the couch all day, every day. You can tell that I hit the weights. I go to the gym. My diet could be relatively good, not great, but you could tell I fucking work out. So I sat in front of him, and he looked at me, and he goes, okay, there's an issue. It's like, you look like that. Like, you are obviously built.
Right.
But your T is at, under 300. He goes, there's a massive issue here. what are you doing? And I tell him the whole gauntlet. I'm like,
Got it.
I work out, I do this, I do that, I've done this. He's like, and he asked me a bunch of things. He's like, have you done this? Have you cleaned up your diet? Are you eating things that are gonna spike your testosterone? Like he was very thorough. And at the end of it, he's like, look, you obviously know what the fuck you're doing. Like, there's obviously an issue, like for sure. He goes, I'm gonna run another panel of blood work anyways, okay, because this panel could have been taken at a wrong time.
Right. Fluctuates,
et cetera, et cetera. He goes, I'm going to do my own blood work for my own ass, right? To cover my own ass, I'm going to do my own blood work. But if the numbers come back similar, I will tell you that you are a candidate for TRT, for testosterone replacement. He goes, you're 35 years old, you work out all the time, you eat right, and your testosterone is sub 300. There is an issue. And your free T is not good either. So I did the blood work. It came back, and it was under 300 again. And I sat with him. I sat with Madi as well. Madi went to the consultation because part of this, which people need to understand, is there is an infertility issue here as well. People don't realize this, but when you start to take exogenous testosterone and you spike your testosterone, there can be and there will be infertility issues. Like you will lose your ability to have a child. So you have to be very, very careful. And that was one of the first questions that he asked me. He was like, are you guys looking for another child? And we told him, yes, like we want a second child. Sometimes we doubt that, but we want
and then even after you have the second one, you'll still doubt it.
We have our doubts.
Yeah. I have.
You know, Braden has 5 great days, and then you have that one day that you're like, I don't know if I want another one of you.
And then the entire internet will tell you the second one is feral, just straight crazy. So,
and we've been very lucky with Braden, so I can't imagine what the second one will bring. But anyways,
yeah, right. You're like, if he's so good here, how far does it swing to crazy over here?
Exactly. So, but we told him, look, I want to have another child. We want to have another child, and what does that process look like? So he broke it down for me. He's like, look, we basically we'll help you bring your testosterone to normal. He goes, I need you to understand that this is a lifetime decision. Like you get on exogenous tests, you're on exogenous tests. Like if you get off of it, your test will drop.
Right.
Your body is not producing testosterone.
Right.
And that's very important. A very important point. I want to bookmark that.
Yeah.
For sure. Because I think, it is because it is so rampant now for men getting testosterone. Like if you do not need it, do not get on it.
Right.
It's so fucking important. If you do not need it, do not get on it. If your testosterone levels are normal and you get on exogenous testosterone and you start intaking TRT, your natural testosterone production will drop. It will go away, and you will have to be on TRT the rest of your life. And what does TRT the rest of your life look like? It looks like an injection every week. There's multiple ways of taking it. You could do injection. You could do. There's a nasal thing now as well, but that's every day, like 3 or 4 times a day. It's like a little swab or whatever, but it's a pain in the ass. You have to have it like in your pocket and do it 3 times a day. I don't have the consistency to do that on 3 times a day. I don't have the bandwidth to be able to throw that into my calendar.
Yeah, and then remember it.
Yeah,
execute on it.
And execute on it. I'm not doing that. So anyways, so he broke it down and he told me, look, you have this option. You need it. If you get on it, you're on it full time. It's going to be a lifetime decision for you, but these are the positives and here are the negatives. The negatives are like we're going to have to work around your fertility. Like we'll have to be very careful because we can kick you out of fertility. Like you can get infertile. Like it's a possibility. So we're going to have to stimulate that every once in a while until you have a child. After you have a child and that's the last child that you want to have, then by all means, like let's go full force and we don't have to worry about the fertility part. But until then, we have to be very careful. So I'm actually getting on a recovery cycle now in June, where I will get fully off of T, and then he's giving me like Clomid and a couple other things to be able to, I guess, spike my fertility again, or reignite my fertility, or make sure that it's there, kind of like a check-in, if you will, from what I understand. And then I get back on the T, and then next year, around this time actually, we want to start trying to conceive again when Mari graduates nursing school. So we'll do like 3 or 4 months before. We'll do the same process, but keep it, like get off of T,
Right.
Stimulate again, and then basically get me to a place where I will be, I can.
So then, do you know how long you can stay in that fertile state without taking TRT?
I don't. I don't know. I think for the most part though, like if you stimulate that again and you get off of TRT completely, like your T's will be low, but you'll be fertile.
Right.
Until you get to a certain age, I guess.
You kind of trade one thing for the other, essentially. Like
Give or take. I don't think it's that simplistic, but yeah, give or take, I think it's kind of like that. From what I understand, and we'll be fact checked for sure. From what I understand, the higher your testosterone, I believe not the lower your fertility, but it does affect your fertility in some fashion.
There's some kind of inverse relationship.
Yeah, from what I understand, and I do understand that like lower testosterone usually is higher fertility, something like that. Again, I would love to be fact checked on that. I'm not an expert on that, but from what I understand, it's kind of like that. I do know though that the process that the doc is taking me through is something that is tried and tested, and something that is very highly rated and positively talked about in the community. Again, experts like Peter Attia and people that I've followed that talk about this, especially for people that are actually low in T and haven't been able to produce their own testosterone.
Do you know if this fertility stimulation has the potential to make you more fertile than you were prior to going on TRT?
That's a great question.
Like, are you going to become Nick Cannon?
At fucking 50. Dude, please no. One, I don't have Nick Cannon's bank account.
Yeah, well.
Not many of us do.
No.
But then again, I would love to see his bank account with all 15 kids that he fucking has or whatever he has.
Yeah.
The other one that's like that is Fitzpatrick. The quarterback that was.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He has
Fitzmagic?
Yeah. He has like 6 or 7 kids, man. And his wife's having another one. So, so anyway, so we sat with the doc, and doc told us, all these things, and he gave me the options. Another kind of backstory, I suffer from vasovagal syncope. So essentially, to kind of dumb it down for myself and for everybody else, when my body feels like it's going to go through shock or any type of pain, I shut down completely. Like I pass out. Okay. This is very prevalent in when I am going to get a shot of some sort or an injection. For whatever reason, needles freak me out, and that always knocks me out. Yeah. So if you really want to get me, like just show me a needle and I'll pass out.
I'm just going to walk around with a picture of a needle on my phone when I want you to do something.
Kind of to add it to that, I naturally have very low blood pressure. And so that coincides obviously, and I fucking drop and I pass out, and yeah, it's ugly. I've had tests run, etc., and that's what they came to, was that I have vasovagal syncope, and it's just like it's literally a valve in the brain that shuts off. I don't get enough oxygen to the brain, and I pass out. So, anyways, it's not something I'm like walking around just pass out. It is like a cousin or whatever of epilepsy, but I don't have epilepsy. It's just a kind of a form of or cousin of. So in that, he's giving me multiple options, and one of the options is an injection, and I'm like, fuck. I've steered clear of injections my entire life on purpose, and now I have to inject myself on a weekly basis. Now, very tough decision. At that time, Mari is going through nursing school, so I'm like, well, I guess it's the best timing for it because Mari is starting to learn how to inject. And long story short, she's fantastic with a needle. Like most of the times, like she injects me, she's talking to me, and I don't even realize that she's injected me.
Nice,
very good. So it's turned out great. But yeah, so it was a decision. I was like, fuck, man, I gotta inject myself on a weekly basis, and I'm also on HCG. I don't ask me what that stands for. I know what it is. I don't know what it stands for. I don't know what the actual wording is. Again, we'll put it in the show notes, but I am on HCG 3 times a week. I from what I understand, that is for the fertility as well.
Yep.
And anyway, so I have to get injected once a week and then 3 times a week with the HCG. Now the HCG is a insulin needle, so it's a very small little insulin.
Human chorionic gonadotropin.
Yes, gonadotropin. Now, HCG, from what I understand, is produced by women during pregnancy.
Yep.
And it has a positive side effect in men, which helps them with keeping their fertility. So it's taken alongside testosterone to be able to kind of keep that fertility at bay, if you will, as your testosterone raises. Also on an anastrozole, which helps keep my estrogen at bay. So what a lot of people don't understand is if your testosterone spikes, very similarly to estrogen spike, your estrogen or testosterone will also kind of want to keep up and keep at bay with it. So when your testosterone does spike, in this case, because you're taking it exogenously, your estrogen can and will spike as well. So the anastrozole is to keep the estrogen at bay. So long story short, I had that conversation. We said, you know what? I think this is the right route to go. And I took the leap, and we took the TRT. It's been one of the best decisions that I've made, honestly. I really do feel brand new. I feel like
So how long have you been on TRT now?
About a year and some.
Okay, so over a year.
Yeah, over a year.
And so what were the 3 biggest changes you noticed?
Energy, first and foremost. First and foremost. I felt like I was always lagging. I felt like I was always stuck in mud is the best way that I can explain it.
You could never really get going?
Yeah, I was just like, I was lagging. I would have a tough workout. Ask Marty, I would have a tough workout, and I would lay here on the couch. Like, even if it was something like we did today, which is tough, but shouldn't knock you out the entire day.
Right.
Like, we have those type of workouts where you're like,
yeah,
good luck at work.
Yeah. Good luck walking the rest of the day. All right.
We have those type of workouts, but normally that is not what we do or what you guys do.
Few and far between.
Yeah, it's also not what you stand for. So for the most part, we have workouts that shouldn't really knock you out on a daily basis or for the day. And man, every single workout I'd get here and I was just like laying on the couch. I was like, I'm done for the day. I can't move.
So now how is that different now?
I don't do that. Like, it's just, I have a workout. I come here. I have breakfast. Sometimes I don't even fucking have breakfast. I have a protein shake, a quick protein shake, get right to work, get on fucking conference calls. Like, it is night and day. I'm not lagging. Like, workouts do not knock me out anymore. That's one.
Okay.
2, recovery.
Okay.
Insane. Like, the difference in my recovery from, again, now I can go 4 or 5 times a week to the gym. I'm still smart about it. I don't do I don't go to Evolve 5 times a week. I don't, not because of anything, because again, it's not like every single workout is knock you on your ass type of workout, but I do like that variety. So I'll go to Esporta and get into the sauna and then get a little chest workout, and I'll vary it up. But for the most part, I have been, maybe not the last month because I've been traveling so much, but for the most part, getting my 4 or 5 days a week of working out, training, and I feel fine. Like, I'm not dying. I'm not like sitting there saying I can't walk. It's not knocking me out on a weekly basis. So my recovery has completely changed.
So your recovery, so when you were speaking about not recovering before, were you strictly talking about exercise, or like what about like alcohol, or you mentioned Disney, or stress related fatigue? Like, was all of that weighing in, or was it specifically exercise recovery? Because
of the fact that I think I was already dealing with my mental stress and how to deal with stress, it wasn't as prevalent. What was really prevalent was my and highlighted was my recovery in the gym, because it was almost like the last thing I was trying to conquer was like getting back and feeling strong, et cetera, et cetera. Now I look back at it now and I was like, wow, yeah, a lot of things were lagging because of that. Like, again, my workload that I was able to take on, like, I felt like I would have a tough workout and I'd maybe have one Zoom that day and I was done. Like mentally, I couldn't do it anymore.
Right.
Whereas now, like, I mean, when you got here, I was on my second call from the gym that I got out at 10.
Right.
And I was on 2 Zooms back to back, and then we did this, like, and I'm perfectly fine. Like mentally, there's no fog. There's no, I'm perfectly fine. So, yeah, I look back now, I'm like, wow, my capacity to deal with things was not there.
So it wasn't just the physical recovery, but also the emotional, the mental stress and whatnot, so that you're able to execute not in the gym, but also outside the gym professionally,
right,
and so on.
And mentally, for sure, yeah.
Good.
My moodiness, I was insane. Let me preface this with, I am a very passionate person.
Yep.
Very passionate. You've dealt with me. You know how I work.
I've dealt with you. I sure have dealt with you.
I'm very passionate. I'm very emotional. We've talked about it. Like I like to let the people around me know how I feel about them. I'm just like, I'm run through.
You get fired up for the good and the bad.
I get fired up for the good and the bad. Yeah. I've dealt with my like you said in the last podcast, it's the response, not the reaction, right? It's like the reaction's fine, but it's how you respond to it. I've learned how to deal with that, etc. But my moodiness was on a different level, man. Like I was one day super happy. The next day, like Mari couldn't even talk to me. Like anything she would say would just snap me. And mind you, some of it was stuff that we needed to deal with as a couple or whatever the case may be, and we therapy, etc. But a lot of it was just me. It was just like my moodiness, man. I just couldn't deal with certain things. Like certain days, I would snap at anything. And it was my levels. I was not. One of the biggest stigmas that I think we need to get past as men, and we don't talk about enough, is this. And for women, it's very natural, right? It's like women have hormonal imbalances because it's very natural in them, and it's on a monthly basis they're naturally going through hormone changes,
right?
Because of their fertility and because of their natural process. We have that as men too. Like our T is very important to us. Our testosterone is literally like our juice, is our mojo, like what's this guy? What's that movie, man?
You talking about Austin Powers?
Austin Powers, yeah. From our generation. Great movie, by the way. Great 3 movies. But he talks about the mojo. But it's just the truth. Like testosterone is our mojo. It's what makes us tick, in very similar fashion to estrogen for women. And we have to take that seriously, man. Like that is a hormone that will fuck you up if you don't have enough. And there is going to be repercussions if you're not stable in your hormones. And I think a lot of the times we look at health and we look at fitness and we look at being balanced or healthy as, well, I'm going to the gym and I'm eating right. But like, there's a lot more to it. Is like, are you really healthy? Are your hormones balanced? Are you, are the things that you're doing also helping you in your chemistry? That's very important because you could be doing everything right, like I was. You could be going to the gym, you could be eating right, you could be not drinking as much, like not drinking as I point to my drink. You could be not drinking as much, and it's the truth. You could be doing everything right, but your chemistry is off. You're not going to yield the results that you want, and you're going to not feel great. And I think ultimately, like that's a very important topic, and again, why I'm very passionate about talking about it today. So, the third one was definitely my inconsistency with my mood. I was very moody, and I saw that right away get better. Right away, where I am, I still get mad. You don't become the perfect person, but.
I'm curious, what made it better?
Are very stable now.
Like, were you immediately more aware of it, or able to recognize it in the moment? Were you able to respond instead of react? Like, how was it better?
I don't know how to explain it. I responded better. Like I didn't have the super highs, super lows. Like I was a little bit more balanced. I was a little bit more.
So the peaks and valleys weren't as tall.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh, I'm super hot and then I'm super depressed. Yeah. It was more muted.
That's a really good word too, because I think one of the things that I haven't felt, thank God, in 2 years or a year and a half since I've been on TRT. Mind you, that I haven't felt since I really started to take my health seriously. TRT really helped us out as well.
Got it. Has
been those, I wouldn't call it depression, but those very, very, very low moments where you're borderline depressed.
Yeah.
And I did in the past feel that a lot. Okay. Not to the super extreme side, but definitely kind of like straddled that line. And I haven't felt that in about a year and a half. And again, it could be a culmination of a lot of things for sure. I'm not pointing to TRT and saying that was the one and thing that helped me out.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of personal development and internal work that went into it also. Yeah. But the TRT was able to assist or be a catalyst, or there was some kind of input that it definitely had. It may not have been the first thing that you did, and it might not have had the same effect had you not done that personal development. But there's something to be said about how it has helped your, for lack of a better term, emotion control.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, I don't think I get to TRT without the personal development.
Oh, I don't think so either.
I don't get there because it would have been in a mix of like, well, I'm feeling this way because of my lack of going to the gym, or because of my lack of this. You get what I'm saying? Like, because
there's something I'm not doing. It's my fault.
Correct.
It's the ego not allowing you to be like, this is outside of my control.
Yeah, and I think because of the fact that I was doing everything for the most part correctly in the right way. And I was still feeling this way. I was like, man, this is out of my control. Like, there's nothing that I can do to make this better.
Yeah. And I think especially you had a history of, I have had a time where I've done everything right and I felt better than this, and I don't feel those changes happening. So like you had that frame of reference. So what I'm hearing is, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, is like, if you're not doing all those other things right first, don't jump to TRT.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But if you try all those other things, those let's call them natural remedies, right? Where you start working out, you start taking care of your mental health. Maybe you talk to a therapist. Maybe you just talk to a friend. You get some kind of community around you. You start eating whole foods. You stop eating processed foods. You go on walks. You get more sunlight, and all of that stuff doesn't bring you to a level that you think is adequate. Go get tested.
100%. Yeah, that is the exact message that I would say. And I think anybody that is true and anybody that is with proper intentions would give you the same advice. Like, do the quote unquote organic stuff first, the free stuff, right? Yeah. Like, and we always talk about it. Like go work out, because you don't have to go to a gym. Like, you could do body weight, you could do other things. Like, that's free. Go on a walk, get some sunlight, eat better. That's not free, but the eating better part is free. You don't need a nutritionist. Like, they're great and they help 100%. Like, Katie helped me.
And if you have the means, go for it.
Go for it 100%. But you don't need that to start eating better, is my point. Start eating better. Start eating more whole foods. Live a healthier lifestyle. And if you do that consistently, and you still feel these things and your energy is low and you're not feeling better, and maybe for some men your sexual drive is low, or you can't get it up like you used to, whatever the case may be, then go see somebody. And don't, my advice would be, don't go to a clinic. Try to go to your doc first. Try to get your blood work done. Okay. Most doctors will be okay with running especially if you're in your 30s, like running a testosterone panel, because yes, it could happen. And then sitting down with your doctor and going over those results, and do your own research. You don't have to dive too deep into it, but if you just watch a few podcasts or videos on YouTube, Google it. Like, there is information out there. There's very good information out there.
And I'm gonna put a caveat on that. Watch those things and then bring questions from that to your professional. Don't make your beliefs off of those things. Don't be like, that guy on YouTube said it, so he must be right because I heard him first. Right. But ask questions. Ask why. Ask, how did they get to that? Oh, hey, that makes logical sense, but is that true? Right. And then once you've got both sides of the coin, then you can make up what you believe in. Yeah. But
an educated decision.
Yeah. But a lot of people, it's just the first piece of information they hear is the truth. Yeah, from the YouTube video. And the only reason that I say that is because being in my industry, people will come in and ask me about, knees over toes guy or blah, blah, blah. Do I need to do this thing that athlete X said? And what, like, no, you don't need to. You could. You absolutely could. And it's one of those things. But let's get to the root of the real thing. And if you have a good good medical professional in front of you, they should want to find the root of that problem, like your doctor did with you. They sat down and he said, hey, no, I think this is a problem. And he asked you all those questions about, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Hey, go try this and then come back. And that conversation should still be had with a medical professional 100%.
Yeah, no, 100%. And again, I have actually kind of both stories because my regular doc did not give me the proper, I guess,
that
guidance.
Vetting. Yeah.
And I felt like she should have been way more informative and led me into a better path. And luckily, because I had done my proper research and come up with an educated conclusion.
Right.
Okay. I also went to a very more specific doctor,
right?
My urologist, and then asked him the same question. And he was like, "Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Like,
you found a specialist of a specialist,
right? Correct." And then he was like, "Yeah, you're 100% correct. There is an issue here."
Yeah.
And then we got on the tee. But again, I guess to the whole point is like, make sure you educate yourself as much as possible. Make sure you understand that TRT is a lifetime decision. Exogenous testosterone is a lifetime decision. And if you go down that route, there's positives and there's negatives. Now, from what I have researched and everything that I have seen, the traditional negatives on TRT that have been quote unquote studied in the past have started to be debunked, and it's actually a very positive thing if you need that. I would say in your 30s, but even in your 30s you shouldn't need testosterone. Now, there's a bunch of factors that we live with on a day-to-day basis today that men didn't live with 100 years ago, which are naturally pushing down our testosterone. The food we eat, the lack of sunlight that we have. Exactly. The lack of sunlight that we have on a day-to-day basis, which gentlemen like you and I, we try to go get more sun. We walk outside, we go to the beach, etc., because we're not afraid of the sun, in moderation, but we're not afraid of the sun. But there's been that stigma of, the sun and like, no, in moderation, the sun is very healthy for you. But there's a lot of things that we live with on a day-to-day basis as modern men that are actually pushing against our natural testosterone production. So just do your research. Make sure you understand that it is a lifetime decision, and understand that that you just need to make sure that it's a decision that you want to do. And if you're in your 30s or your 40s or 50s, obviously, for sure. But that if you're in your 30s, that you have kind of weeded out all the options and everything that you can do. And if this is your option and this is the thing that you need to do, like it was for me, that you understand the pros and the cons of it. And again, I did that. I made a very educated decision. And so far, I don't know about in 15 years, but so far it's been a great decision for me. Everything that I read, everything that I continue to educate myself on, it's been a very good decision for me. And that's pretty much it, man. I wouldn't have done this in my 20s. I would have for sure said, there's no way that in my 20s I have TRT, which, by the way, most people in their 20s do not have a TRT issue. And you shouldn't be taking TRT. It's going to fuck you up for the rest of your life. You know? Most people in their 30s shouldn't have a TRT issue, but just again, make that educated decision. And it's been a great decision for me. I feel great. I have incredible energy and an abundance of energy. Madi would attest to that I have an abundance of energy and libido. But it's been great. For real, I do feel fantastic. My recovery is fantastic. And I have yet to feel any type of side effects to this that I can point at. And I don't think that there really should be any, because again, naturally I have been low in testosterone, and I'm just supplementing what naturally should be there.
Yep. The only side effect that we mentioned that we should revisit is just making sure that it is a lifetime decision.
It is.
It does inhibit your natural production should you ever have to come off of it. And just knowing that, and as long as you can live with that, that's the biggest.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing.
And it's a big side effect, quote unquote. Like, like you have to get a shot every week, and I want to make people very aware of that. Like, I've always been anti-needle. Like, I don't want to say anti-vax because I've been very anti-needle. Yeah. I've always been very anti-needle, anti-shots, because it just naturally, like, I pass out.
Yeah.
And for me to take that step is a big step for me to have to take a shot every week. It's a huge step. So it was a very educated decision. And just know that you're gonna have to live with that. You're gonna have to take a shot every week. Again, it's not a huge deal. Taking a shot is not a big deal, but for me, it has been, and it is what it is.
Well, on behalf of anybody who watches this, listens to this, and myself, thank you for sharing your story. I know that it's a thing that people don't openly talk about. So I think it's very cool that you are comfortable enough and steadfast in your beliefs enough to come on here and share it with the internet, basically, and myself.
The interwebs.
So I take that very seriously. So thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
I came with a.
Thank God you.
Thank
God you continued that conversation.
I know. I came with an underrated, overrated, perfectly rated. So at the end of every show, we like to do this underrated, overrated, and to create some levity, because we do talk about some heavy topics here between personal development and whatnot. So we like to end every show with a little bit of lightness. And I'm going to go real superficial today to make it super light. And Megan and I were actually talking, Megan, my wife, and I were talking last night about what are some silly ones we could do and probably disagree on. So I have two.
We do need more disagreement on the podcast.
I have two. So the first one is underrated, overrated, pineapple on pizza.
Oh, that's a good one.
This is, and I picked this one because this is one of those like internet hills to die on.
Yeah.
That don't change anything about anybody's life.
No, at all.
So the floor is yours.
Underrated. I think pizza is pizza, man. And I am not like a proponent of. I've seen some weird ass pizzas out there that are amazing. There's a pizza place now in New York that does like truffle lobster on pizza. Like,
oh, that sounds delicious.
It sounds great. I know it's like a hot spot now in New York, and they do a bunch of like this radical, stuff on pizza. So I'm not a radical pizza person. I'm sure the Italians in our viewers and in our comments are going to come after me, but I don't feel radical about pizza. So my answer is underrated. I think it's pretty good, actually, and I think the combination is not bad.
I 100% thought you were going the other way. I thought you were going to say it was overrated for sure, because I'm underrated guy.
Yeah.
I'm underrated on pineapple pizza. My go-to order from Rizzoli's down the street is pineapple and pepperoni.
I haven't had Rizzoli's, by the way. Good.
It's good. It's classic New York thin crust. It's good. I'm not going to say anything ill of them because I think that they're great. I love the salty sweet combo that you get with pineapple on pizza. A lot of people think that the moisture from the pineapple makes it like soggy or whatever. Like, screw that.
Eat it right away.
Eat it.
Why are you waiting?
Or air fry it and dry it out a little bit and make it even better.
Yeah.
Like,
I do love the combination. I agree with you. I think it's underrated. I really do.
All right. So then
we gotta figure something that
we'll go to number two.
Okay,
we'll go to number two. Overrated, underrated, or perfectly rated. Ranch as a dipping sauce.
Depends the vessel that you are dipping into the ranch.
Pick your poison. It could be a vegetable. It could be chicken wings. It could be pizza crust. I'm talking overall. Ranch is let's make it binary. Is ranch the best dipping sauce for wings, pizza, vegetables? Is it up there for you?
I think it's rated exactly where it needs to be.
Really?
Ranch, yes.
Oh man, I thought you were gonna have a much stronger opinion. Okay,
sorry, I think it's rated exactly where it needs to be.
And where's that?
Well, because here's the deal. I there's certain foods that I really like ranch with.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain foods that I don't. For instance, I don't like ranch with my wings. I like blue cheese with my wings.
Okay.
But I don't like blue cheese. Like
Yeah,
traditionally,
at all,
I'm not
yeah.
a big blue cheese fan.
I got you.
But I do like my wings with my blue cheese. Why? I have no fucking clue. But I prefer blue cheese with my wings. But ranch, I don't. But like fries, I love to dip in a good ranch.
Okay.
So I think it's rated exactly where it needs to be because I know there's people on both ends of this spectrum, this topic. Now, here's my deal. Not everybody makes a really good ranch. Okay. And I think there's people that make really good ranch, and I think there's people that just are lazy as fuck with their ranch, and they don't make a good ranch. Now,
just get the ranch powder packet.
Wingstop
Okay.
makes a fantastic ranch, probably the best ranch out there.
Hot take.
Yeah, hot take. Wingstop, we're looking for sponsors.
God.
Somebody's gonna do it, man. Somebody's gonna sponsor us.
You're so funny.
So Wingstop makes a really good ranch. So I'm gonna go rate it exactly where it needs to be because I think that it is a very good sauce. I don't think it's the best, but I think it's a very good dipping sauce. And depending the vessel that you're dipping in, it's good or it's not that good. Here's a really hot take.
Okay, let's go. I'm ready.
If you don't like dipping your pizza in ranch, don't watch our podcast.
Oh, well then I guess I can't watch our podcast.
Are you that? Are you that
ranch,
guy?
Ranch is so overrated.
I know you said that to me.
Overrated.
I knew that you were coming.
I know. I was coming for you.
I know.
When we had pizza last week, I was like, oh, I know what I'm going to ask him. I don't understand the desire of ranch. I don't get the taste profile. I don't get the white creaminess. I don't understand the appeal.
You don't like white creaminess?
Not in my mouth, no. and so like ranch in itself, it's fine. Like I made ranch seasoned potatoes, roasted potatoes. It's fine. But I think it's so overrated because people love it. People love it. It's like, it's not, nobody out there loves French dressing. Nobody out there like loves Italian dressing.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
maybe if you're Italian, maybe like there's a small group of
I get your point though. You're 100% correct.
Nobody, and there's people out there who love ranch and love Chick-fil-A sauce, and I can't stand either one.
I don't like, I'm not a huge fan on Chick-fil-A sauce. It's good.
No.
But it's not like
No. All of their sauces are mid.
World-shattering.
Like barbecue sauce is great on their chicken, but like I can find a better barbecue sauce depending on what I want it for. Like their barbecue sauce is super sweet too.
If you want a Chick-fil-A overrated, underrated, or rated where it needs to be,
Yeah, we'll put that out.
We'll have clips.
Yeah,
on that
put it in the
as well.
comments if you want to know if we think Chick-fil-A is overrated.
But okay, so I have a question for you. So Hidden Valley sells a powder, a ranch powder that you can find at Publix.
Yeah.
Have you done the Hidden Valley ranch powder in sour cream and then mixed that up?
So I can't eat sour cream.
Why?
So you don't know this about me. I have had an allergic reaction to sour cream.
What?
But no one knows why. Like no one. I get like fevery and like flu symptoms. Like my stomach turns. I get fluish. So my friends thought. So here's a quick story. My friends thought this was like a psychosomatic thing, and so they made a buffalo chicken casserole that had sour cream in it as like the creamy base to make the buffalo chicken. And we were visiting them in on the East Coast, and they told Megan that it was in there. But they didn't tell me.
you.
And she was like, "Oh, but he says he's allergic." They're like, "Yeah, I know that he says that, but like we're pretty sure he's had sour cream in his life, and like he didn't have a reaction." So they didn't tell me. So I ate it, and I was like, "Oh, this is delicious. It's really good. Great, cool. Like, how'd you make it?" And they all kind of like look at each other and they're like, "Oh, it's like buffalo sauce and chicken. Like it's that simple." I was like, "Great. It's delicious. Thank you." And I ate like 2 servings of it. And that night, I was burning up. We were sleeping in an air mattress. The air mattress had a leak. It was miserable.
What?
And I'm just like sweating profusely. Megan's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And like she gets up the next day and I like stayed in bed because I felt awful. She's like, "Oh yeah, no, he figured out that there was sour cream in that because he was on it last night." And like they told me and they apologized. They're like, "Oh, we didn't think it would be like that big a deal. Like it's not like I was gonna die or anything."
That's crazy, and that
But
they haven't been able to kind of connect to anything.
Yeah, so like I don't have sour cream.
But
on
do you have
anything.
any dairy issues?
No, but I also don't eat a ton of dairy now.
Right.
Anyways, like I'll eat cheese.
Yeah.
On my Chipotle burrito, but like
the best
outside of that, like I don't.
It's the best type of dairy is cheese.
Yeah. So I don't drink milk anymore.
No shit. Dude.
I don't have yogurt anymore. I used to have yogurt every day.
Oh, you can't have cottage cheese then.
So yeah, I've never. Well, cottage cheese is a texture thing. But I'll tell you. I'll tell you another story another day about that.
That is an overrated, underrated, and rated where it needs to be. Actually, I'm going to throw that one in right now.
Cottage cheese?
Cottage cheese.
No, I've never actually eaten it. Like I've never.
Really?
Well, that's not true. I've eaten it. Didn't like the texture the one time, and
So I'm obsessed with cottage cheese.
And I don't want to ruin cottage cheese for you. No, when I was in high school, we were endurance athletes. We wore the short shorts. We ran a bunch. Everyone was very much in shape, and we went to the beach, and being rude teenagers, were judging people by their appearance out there. And there's a woman who's out there rocking a bikini, and she's killing it. She's got one of those little like skirt cover up things on that's tied up. She unties it, and I'm not looking. My friend says to me, he's like, "Oh my God, that woman's legs look like cottage cheese." Like, and so like now that image is ruined in my. So anytime I see cottage cheese like in a scoop that's like a lump, like. That's all I see. I'm like, no, I don't want to eat that woman's legs. I'm sorry. I'm good. You guys have all the cottage cheese. And people, we just finished the summer shred. People were telling me how delicious cottage cheese and fruit is. That's a big breakfast.
Oh my God, I'm a big fan.
I'm sure it's delicious, but the texture and the idea, the mental image, and that's like a core memory now in my brain that's ruined. I couldn't even tell you who said it. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you anything else about that woman other than she was in a purple bathing suit and her legs looked like cottage cheese.
That's crazy how powerful like moments of words are.
Right.
Crazy.
I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't tell you who said it. I couldn't tell you how many people were with us. I could tell you what beach we were at because we only went to one.
Yeah.
But like, it's totally like ruined the appeal of cottage cheese for me.
So two things. One of them is because I stand on the love cottage cheese train, I think it's very underrated. It is super high in protein, so it's a great source of protein. Great calories, and to me, it's very flexible. Like you can have it with sweet, but you can also I've seen people like put it on crackers and put like have it like almost like salty. Like Anyways, it's very versatile. I love cottage cheese. I specifically like a good bowl of cottage cheese. I'll cut up some mangoes, put some mangoes on it, a little bit of granola, a little honey. Like fucking fantastic. Really good.
So I don't really have a stance on overrated, underrated. I just know my personal is like I'm not going to partake.
Because it was some chick's legs at the beach.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So and then I'm gonna go back to the sour cream. Unfortunately, this dish would kill you, but the Hidden Valley pouches, the powder pouches, you put it in the sour cream, like any sour cream, and you mix it up, and it is the best ranch dipping sauce that you will ever have in your life. My stepmom.
I'm gonna make sure Megan does that all the time.
She does that all the time. Maggie does that all the time, and we have it with chips or whatever. That is one of the only times that I will dip my wings. Usually it's Publix wings, which by the way, shout out Publix, very good wings.
Yeah,
they have the hot wings there, so good, and their subs. We can have a whole session on fucking pub subs. But that's one of the only times that I'll dip my wings into ranch is that combination because it's like a sour cream, very thick, like very good. So I do love the ranch, but again, I'm on the rated exactly where it needs to be on the ranch. What is your favorite dipping sauce?
I really like barbecue sauces that have a little bit of heat.
Okay.
So like the honey chipotle, Bubba, Sweet Baby Ray's.
Oh, so good.
Is a really good sauce. I don't dip a ton of stuff. Like outside of barbecue sauce, like that's it. Like if I get barbecue, I'm getting the hot, the sweet, and the smoky.
You're not a big sauce guy.
I'm not a big sauce guy, but to me that's where a lot of the calories are hidden in food. So
100%.
like you go to Chick-fil-A and you get the spicy chicken salad and they give you that delicious salsa dressing, but there's more calories in that salsa dressing than there are in that whole salad.
Yeah.
And so you put that on there and you go from having a 300 calorie salad to an 800 calorie meal. Yeah. And it's like, well, now what else are you going to eat the rest of the day? Because you're telling me you're staying under 1,000 calories, which again, terrible idea. We can talk about that all you want. But yeah, so I'm not a huge sauce guy, and it's another reason that I don't get pizza a lot. I don't crave the sauces. I don't know if it's a conditioning thing over time that I went through, or if growing up I only ate Kraft mac and cheese and dogs and dough, so now I want to eat things that are actually nutritious. Yeah. So I don't know why. Do you have a top sauce?
We're a big sauce family.
Okay.
Like really big. Probably why we gain weight very easily.
I don't know what you're talking about. Mari's like this big. So.
Well, yeah, she's not my blood. I'm
That's,
talking about
okay.
my. I'm talking about my
your
blood
side,
family.
Your
yeah,
side.
my
okay.
side of the family.
Oh, I have met your brother. Okay, fair.
Yeah, fair, exactly. And my dad's a big dude too. Yeah,
nice.
we're
big boned.
We're big boned. Very sauce heavy family for sure.
Saucy.
Yeah, we're saucy. My favorite sauce. Yeah, it has to be like. Man, I love them all. They're all so good.
I mean, oh, okay. But does queso count as a sauce? Because
Yeah,
you dip chips in it.
I would put that for sure.
Because queso's up there. Queso's up there, and there's a bunch of different quesos. We could talk all day about queso, I'm sure.
I would say a good like chipotle ranch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love spice.
Yeah.
I love spicy foods.
Spicy mayo on sushi.
Oh, you know what? That's it.
Spicy mayo.
I actually make a homemade spicy mayo, which is amazing. Yeah, it's a little.
I'll take some of that, thanks.
Has a little Asian twist to it. Like I put a little bit of soy sauce in it, but yeah, I make a badass homemade spicy mayo. Right. That is our favorite sauce.
Coming up next, Cooking with JC: How to make a spicy Asian Miami mayo.
But yeah, I would put that as my favorite sauce. Is a good spicy mayo or a good spicy ranch, like chipotle ranch type deal.
Let's start the lore.
Aioli, like
the
a
Dad
spicy
Tribe
aioli.
lore. The top sauce on Dad Tribe is a spicy mayo.
Spicy mayo for right now, but put your favorites in the comments, please.
Oh yeah, let's see.
I would love to see
sauce?
what people say.
Yeah.
Because you have people on both fences, right? Like sweet, spicy, or both.
Yeah.
Wingstop, they have a maple sriracha. Wow, so good.
I've never, because maple's one of those flavor profiles. It's like
really, I
don't fall in love with almost any.
We have
of it.
very
different flavor
profiles for sure, different palettes.
Yeah.
I'm like that with Mari. Mari and I have a completely different flavor profile. But anyways, I think this is a natural cutting off point.
Yes. Thank you for
because you always do it, so I wanted to do it because I saw your body language. I'm like, yeah, this guy's done.
Yeah, I'm done. This last segment has been very funny and very fun for the overrated, underrated. But yes, thank you again for sharing your story. Yeah, thank you for making the time to share it with everyone else. And I hope that we get some good questions and comments down in the comments for you to start a dialogue with some people and really get into it.
Yeah, man.
But thanks again. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for sticking around. If you stayed all the way to the end of this video, I want you to comment your favorite sauce down in the bottom.
Yes, please.
Yeah, put your favorite sauce and put where we can get it.
Yeah, make sure it's not ranch because John's not going to like you.
Not going to eat it. All right, later.
Sweet.
Oh, I can't stand up.